Everyone debates which phone is better. But you know what? The real difference in how they're built to win has nothing to do with the camera or the screen. It's all about two completely different philosophies for conquering the market.
Welcome to Inside Industry. Today, we're diving deep into the rivalry between two absolute titans of tech, Apple and Samsung.
So Apple versus Samsung, it feels like this simple product war, right? Fought right here, in our pockets. But to really see who's winning, you've got to ask a totally different question. It's not about who sells more phones. It's about what game each company is actually playing.
And honestly, it all boils down to this one single fundamental difference in philosophy. And this one thing, it dictates every single decision they make. See, Apple is playing to win profit share. They want the biggest slice of the profit pie. Samsung, they're playing to win market share. They just want their devices in as many hands as possible, period.
And that one choice, profit versus market, it creates this massive ripple effect. We're talking about two completely different blueprints for building a global tech giant. It shapes everything, from the chips inside your phone all the way to the software you're tapping on every single day.
So Apple's way is all about vertical integration, but with a really clever twist. They control everything that you, the user, actually touch and feel. The whole experience, right? The design, their custom chips, iOS, all their services. But here's the kicker. They don't actually build the phones themselves. Nope. They outsource all that heavy lifting to partners like Foxconn. And that lets them keep their capital costs way down and their profit margins sky high.
Now Samsung, they're on a whole different planet. They use something called matrix integration. And what that really means is they control the actual parts. They own the entire supply chain. You've got their device solutions division making all the core stuff, the memory, the processors, those amazing displays. And then their device experience division takes all those parts and assembles them into phones, TVs, you name it. To put it simply, they build it all themselves.
Okay, so let's look at the money, because this is where those choices really show up. Samsung, they ship way more phones. We're talking 290 million units. But check this out. Apple's average selling price is a whopping $730 higher. And that difference flows right to the bottom line. It leads to an operating margin, that's the profit on each sale, of 31% for Apple versus just 18% for Samsung. Apple just makes way more money on every single device they sell. And that right there is the profit share strategy working perfectly.
But hold on, Samsung's model has a secret weapon. Because they make their own stuff, like their Exynos processors, they have this amazing internal cost hedge. They can literally supply that chip to themselves for $20 to $30 less than buying a similar one from, say, Qualcomm. This gives Samsung this incredible structural flexibility to manage their costs. It's a lever Apple just doesn't have, because they have to go out and buy all their parts from someone else.
So this deep structural difference, it leads to two completely opposite ways of keeping you as a customer. Think of it like this. One company builds a fortress, and the other cultivates a wide open field. You've probably heard of it, Apple's famous walled garden. The hardware, the software, iMessage, iCloud, it all just works so seamlessly together that leaving feels, well, almost impossible. And the data backs this up big time. A staggering 92% of iPhone users stay with Apple. The cost to switch, both in terms of money and just plain hassle, is just immense. And what's the payoff for building that garden? Well, it's this number right here, an estimated $110 billion. That's in high-margin services revenue every single year. We're talking the App Store, Apple Music, iCloud, all of it. They've turned that incredible loyalty into a massive, super reliable growth engine that pretty much every other company dreams of having.
By the way, if this kind of structural breakdown is helping you see this whole competition in a new light, please consider liking and subscribing. It honestly really helps us create more deep dives just like this one. Thanks a lot. Okay, so on the other side of the fence, you have Samsung's open field. They do this partly out of necessity, but also by choice. They lean into Android's flexibility, making sure their devices play nice with pretty much everything. Your Windows PC, a whole universe of smart home gadgets through their SmartThings platform. For them, the goal isn't to lock you in. It's to be the best, most connected player in a wide open ecosystem.
And this really shows you how their ecosystems serve those core strategies we talked about. For Apple, services are a huge profit driver in their own right. For Samsung, services are there mostly to help sell more hardware and protect that all-important market share.
All right, so how does all this strategy stuff play out on the next big battlegrounds? Let's take a look at their game plans for AI and extended reality, or XR, because this is where you can really clearly see their core philosophies at work.
When it comes to AI, it's like a perfect mirror of their business models. Apple, they're doubling down on that walled garden. Apple Intelligence is all about being private, with most of the number crunching happening right on your device. It's control, control, control. And Samsung, true to form, they're all about open collaboration, partnering up with Google to bake the powerful Gemini AI right into their phones.
And in the wild new world of XR, it's the exact same playbook. Apple drops the Vision Pro at $3,500. The goal? A super premium category-defining experience. That's a classic profit share play. Samsung? They're coming in with the Galaxy XR at half the price. The goal? Mass adoption. A classic market share play.
So when you put it all together, profit versus market share, walled garden versus open field, you start to realize something pretty important. These guys aren't just playing the same game with different tactics. No, they are playing two completely different games.
So what's the bottom line? Well, Apple's huge advantage is that incredibly profitable, fiercely loyal user base. But their big risk is that they're vulnerable if a new market, like XR, is slow to take off, especially with their high-priced products. Samsung's strength? It's that total control over their supply chain and their key role in building out AI infrastructure for everyone. But their risk? They face brutal competition from Google on the high end and a ton of Chinese rivals on the low end.
So, which strategy is actually better? Honestly, it depends entirely on what future you're betting on. If you're looking for stability in those juicy, high-margin services, then Apple's defensive strategy is absolutely brilliant. But if you're betting on the explosive growth of the actual tech and infrastructure that's going to power AI, well, then Samsung's offensive play as a key supplier to the entire industry is incredibly powerful.
And that just reframes this whole debate, doesn't it? We spend so much time putting their phones head-to-head, feature for feature, but maybe the real question isn't about who's going to win a war between them. Maybe it's about finally recognizing that they've chosen to compete in completely different arenas, playing on entirely different fields.